Hello all motorcycle heads. Today I'm going over the shovel head motor. I went ahead and pulled the flywheel out of the left side case, pressed it out, and then earlier I went ahead and split the flywheel, took out the rods, front rear rod, crank pin, and the pin bearings. Just want to go over a few quick things. I do have the new one. Here's the new one. Of course, when I do go to put it all together, which I will, I'll have another video of it. I will be taking this all apart. This will come out. I'll pull this crank pin out, take these bearings out, which will basically fall apart in the same fashion as the one that I took apart came out. As you can see here on the desk, it's all loose. One thing I got to point out, all right, now on these crank pins, this is a stock crank pin. The older ones only had one oiling hole right here. The way these cages sat was, big cage was in the middle and the two small cages on each end. And that's how it was. And then of course your bearings, your rollers. The newer ones, which I'll show in another video when I go to put this actually all together. Actually, the crank pins now have three. There's better oiling. You have one for each actual cage, so you have better oiling to each cage instead of this one oil hole going to trying to oil all three. So here you had a little bit of a starvation sometimes if you had a low idle. Now they have three holes for all three cages. Another point to take, if you're ever rebuilding these, when you remember that if you buy them in pieces, if you just need a front rod, rear rod, whatever, I don't know, you should get them in sets, of course, but when you're putting them in, your front rod is your single rod, or looks like you're just single rod. This one looks almost like it's double, but it's not. That's your rear. Okay, so this is your front rod, the one that's a single that slips in to the rear rod. Your crank pin really only goes in one way. It has a key set, and here you have your keyway. Put your keyway in there, which usually goes in your pinion side first. So when I go to install this, which I'll do it at a different date, it actually has a slot in the taper. It has a slot which is made for the keyway. Fits in there. What I would do, that's the actual first side I would do first. Turn it around. Of course, I have the new hardware. This is the old stuff. I'm just showing as for learning purpose. The nut, you would put the nut on, zip it down. Let's see, piston fit. Let's see, crank pin fit. I don't have the torque specs right now up in front of me, but I believe it's 170 foot-pounds. So you would do this to 170 foot-pounds, which put it in the jig or in the press to hold it. And then once you do that, this is what I wanted to go over. Now that it's set, okay. The first thing you would do, of course, it's not pulled in all the way, so, but I'm just showing this as teaching purpose, or just for somebody who'd need to know if they're ever rebuilding these. These cages, different size. These two, the inner outer are the same size. Middle one's longer. If you're getting the new bearings, you can buy them in packs. You got to make sure you get enough. Now, these different sizes. Of course, you want to get them to, you want to measure and make sure that you get them that they're the size that you need. They have to be the size of the roller, so they sit flush in the roller. No, you know, because you can get them at different lengths, different for different cages. So that one's for that one, and then of course that one fits nice in there. Okay, so once this was actually pulled in by the nut, actually, real quick, I was going a little too fast. Let me take this nut off on the other side. Okay, on the flat side, when you take these off, on both of them actually, now on this one, it's already staked. They come from the factory. Harley does it. They have a tool that you can use. Now this one's on there pretty good. It's brass. It's a brass ring. It's got to be in there. You got to make sure you have it in there. Now the way these brass rings are, it's got a rounded edge on one side and kind of a sharp edge on the other. The sharp edge is the one that you want to fit in there. It's got to fit flat. And then these stake marks, obviously this one was loose because it popped right out, so I have to restake it. And what I'll usually do now, they do have a tool on the market that you can get where you put the crank pin in, run it up with the nut, just with an air hammer, just run it up. Then I have this big tool that slides over it, and it has 6 holes all the way around. It has a long dowel with a hardened kind of rounded point on it. You just drop it in there and you bang it with a hammer a couple times, and what it does is it spreads or stakes the edges out, pushes it in to hold this brass ring in. That's what you need to do. If you don't have the tool, I mean, I've seen you can put a leather washers on here and vice grips and hold it down. It's got to be kind of tight, and then stake it. Don't really recommend it, but I've seen it done. As long as this stays it stays in on its own. This one obviously doesn't, so I'll have to do that before put it all together. Okay, back to the bearings. So this is now assuming this is the new pin. Like I said, I've already put it on my jig or in the vise to hold the whole side down. This is the pinion side because it is the keyway. Put it in. Now I'm working with the new pin, let's just say, the new cages, because on my other one, this unit right here is, once I take the ends off, pull the pin out, there's going to be, all the cages, I have to be careful because all the bearings will pop out. Make sure I don't lose them, because those are for this particular rod pin set. So that's what I'll do. For this purpose, I'm showing you, this is the original that came off of this pin. So I'm putting the thin first, thick, and thin. Then you would have to go around. Now, of course, you can put assembly lube on the shaft if you want. Sometimes it helps to hold in these bearings in, that so they don't fall out when you actually go around or whatever. So like right now I'm putting them in. See how they're going in? So see how they're nicely in. So assuming I've already put them all in, now I'm going to work on the small ones. They are a pain in the neck. That's why, you know, it's better to put assembly lube or a little light oil on there. That's so when these drop in on the pin, they kind of stick to the pin. So you don't have to worry about now that I've got these going around, you see how they're falling out as I'm spinning them. So that's basically what you do. Is you go all the way around, you put your rollers in, then once you do that, you slide your rod set up. Once all the bearings are on, you put another good amount of assembly lube on all the bearings. Just kind of wipe it around, make sure some bearings stay in there, don't lose any. Obviously, if that's the pinion side, that's the right side case. So front rod goes this way, you slide that on. Now once you slide that on, go get the other half, put that on, put your nut on. And once you put your nut on, you go ahead and go over to your jig or however you have it set up, and you make sure that your flywheels are straight as far as on the same round, on the same axis basically. And then do the same thing as far as tightening to 170 or 175, I believe, foot-pounds. And then once you do that, you go to the truing, and I do truing by hand. It's easier. It's an older way. That'll be another video. This is just to show you real quick on the bearings, the pin, the keyway, how the original pins only have one oiling hole for this whole surface right here, which is a good 2.5 inches. Now the newer ones now all have 3 oiling holes, one basically for each cage, which is much better. This one's actually not too bad for 1976. The wear pattern, really nice. So I could use that one if I wanted to. I even inspected these rollers. They're actually not bad. So, but of course I'm not. I'm using new rods, bearings, everything. So for now, that is kind of what I wanted to point out as far as if you're ever splitting a crank, you're putting in new rods. inspect your taper. Make sure there's no ground or grinding marks, no scuffs. Shouldn't be. Crank pin shouldn't be turning. If it is, then you got other problems. Next time I'll show putting it together with the new, basically doing what I just showed you with the old, except doing it with the new. And then actually truing it too. Truing this kind of without all the $1,000 machines and stuff like that. So, till next time, Motorheads, peace out.